Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Build. I'm your host, Carrie Justick. Carly Zakin and Danielle Weisberg first came out with the Skim newsletter from the living room of their New York City apartment in July 2012. And 7 years later, the two have created a community of millions of skimmers, as well as a podcast called Skim This. Now, the women are releasing their first book called How to Skim Your Life, where they cover a range of topics from getting your home in order to understanding 401ks and international politics. Please help me in welcoming Carly and Danielle to the Build stage.
Hi. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having this. And we love the teal chair.
I know. We feel right at
You,
home.
right?
Yeah, this is
I was going to say,
awesome.
and it's not your first time doing Build.
No, it's
We
our
love Build.
second. We love it. It was so much fun the first time we came back.
Amazing.
You guys have the best green room. You have the best candy.
That's what we aim to please. So if you could just start off with giving me the skim on how this all got started.
Sure. So Carly and I started our company, The Skims, 7 years ago from our living room couch. And it's really today become a membership to Living Smarter. We have about 100 employees and a suite of products that really cover your day-to-day. So when you wake up, we have an email newsletter that breaks down everything you need to know. When you walk out the door, we have our app, Skim Ahead, which integrates with your calendar so that you don't miss anything. And then when you are on the road, when you're commuting, we've got Skim This, which gets you up to speed on what you've missed that day. And we are so excited that tomorrow, our very first book, How to Skim Your Life, comes out. And for us, this is basically a reference book to growing up. I feel like we've always had this moment, and we realized over the past 7 years and meeting the millions of women throughout the country who are all skimmers that we're not alone, that everyone has questions. There are things that you feel like you should know to be an adult, and no one knows everything. So we put this together.
Well, I love that. I remember first signing up for the newsletter when I was in high school.
Oh my God.
And now reading,
we feel
I
old.
feel really old.
that you
And
just
now,
said that.
but reading this book, like everything still pertains to me. And I know you guys talk about how your target audience was kind of you and your friends and what conversations you would have. But now 7 years later, like how has your community evolved and how do you keep serving their needs?
It's a great question. And I think, when you say the word community, that's what resonates the most with us, which is that's what we've built. This incredible engaged community that's manifested in lots of different ways, from the 7 million people that get the daily Skim to over 40,000 Skim ambassadors to the thousands of members of the Skim that actually help put together the book as our book squad. So community has sort of been the cornerstone of our brand. And as we think about how we scale and who this book is for, we really wanted to make sure that we follow a generation of women that are so fascinating for so many different reasons and all the ways they're leading and all the challenges that they're dealing with. And when we put together this book, we thought about not just them, but also what is the book we would have wanted when we graduated college, when we first started out. So really, this is a book for everyone. It is meant to be a reference book that you leave out, put it on your coffee table, put it on a shelf, put it on your desk, wherever you want to put it. But it is meant to come back to you time and time again as you navigate all the things we all navigate, which is choosing health insurance plans, choosing how to negotiate, even ordering wine at a restaurant.
Yeah. Well, you were just saying this is something that you can reference time and time again. There's such a range of topics. How did you come up with that? And you said you had kind of a book squad. Were you crowdsourcing from your community? And did people kind of say, this is what I want to learn more about?
So we started with really thinking back over the years. We've been so lucky to have conversations with millions of women and to hear firsthand what types of things come up, what questions you have in your day-to-day. And it totally runs the gamut, right? From like getting ready to have people over to moving into your first apartment, like what do you need in your kitchen, to how to talk to a financial advisor. These are things that no one really tells you, and they take up time, right? Time to research, time to ask people about, and we wanted to solve for that by putting it all together. So the topics really came from our community, hearing the questions that they had, asking them for advice, and then when we launched it with the book squad, it was really a back and forth to putting the order of the chapters together, to thinking through what types of things that we wanted to post on social. And they have really helped us immensely in bringing this book to life.
Yeah, you just mentioned research, which was the biggest thing that I thought about when going through the book, because a lot of these things, they're not just something that you can go online and look up or go to another book and find, like some of these things are things that we go to our moms to ask them about. So I was really interested in what your research process looked like, especially because you're so used to writing a daily skim or writing a podcast. So when you're going into something like this, I'm sure it's a really prolonged process.
It's definitely a lengthier process, although I will say we do everything quickly. Our team jokes, which is we were told that normally a book to put together from like sign the contract to, launch date is about a 2-year process. And we did it in about 9.5 months. So we definitely, it was prolonged for us, but I think not for everyone else. No, but for us, first of all, when you go back to how did the skim start, what is our background? It was as journalists and, in a traditional news organization. And we approach this just the way we approach all of our news products, which is our rigorous fact checking and really just that rigor that we put together our news products every day. One of the things that was most fun for us in putting the book together was actually going to some experts, whether it was financial advisors, even a sommelier, like really going to them to ask about the very specific questions that you mentioned are covered.
And then translating that, right? Yeah. Because when you're speaking to an expert, I think you, and we all have this across all of the chapters in the book, is that they are speaking like you have this foundational knowledge in whatever they have an expertise in. And for most of us, we're generalists and we're busy with our day-to-days and what we're consumed with. So a lot of what we do with the skim is translating information that experts provide. And it was the same with this.
Well, the voice in the book is very similar to the voice throughout the skim.
Not an accident.
Yeah, which I love. But I also, to that same point, I'm obsessed with the visuals in the book because they go along with everything so nicely. And again, it kind of makes it way easier to understand. So what was the process like for that?
Oh my goodness. Well, our design team, when they watch this interview, are going to cry of joy that you just said that. So every single visual that you see in this book was done internally by our design team, which was just an incredible process, a very lengthy process, and a just really detail-oriented process. But to your point, the skim, we're known for a very distinctive voice that is conversational, that sounds like your friend breaking everything down for you. We wanted to do that same approach with design, which is you could look at the visual here and understand what the information is about, capture our humor, capture just how relatable all these topics are, and we all go through this. So we had as much fun writing it as we had working with our design team to design it.
We actually, the first thing that we did when we all got back into the office, like January 3rd or whatever it was, we did a bookathon. With our editorial team and our design team. And we split up chapter by chapter and paired the editorial minds and the design minds to go through each paragraph in the book and come up with what are some ideas of what the design could look like, and what are we really trying to pull? What is the important information to highlight? Which was an awesome experience. And usually when you think about hackathons, it's for, engineering teams, and we do that too. But this was an awesome thing to spend one day going through it and working cross-functionally in a way that I don't think those teams are usually paired up at that stage of a process.
Well, it's so interesting because I feel like there's so much collaboration that happens within your company, but then you've also pointed out to outside of your company because you're speaking with skimmers on a regular basis. And obviously, I can imagine that there's still some anxiety about sending out each newsletter and posting each podcast, and now you're releasing a book. So what does the anticipation for this feel like?
Oh gosh, now you're making me anxious.
Well, I was even looking at something prior, like another interview of yours, and you were saying how it doesn't get easier, like the fear doesn't go away. And
I think if it does go away, then we're complacent and we're getting lazy. So I hope it never goes away, and I can tell you it hasn't. But I think, for us, this is, we take such pride in what we do. We have such a clear focus on who our audience is. We know the value that we provide to our audience every day, which is as a company, we make it easier to live smarter. And we never would have gotten this far without this incredible engaged community around us. So we feel we have not only a responsibility to our wider audience at large, but also to the community that has truly lifted us up and told the world about what we're doing. So you mentioned, the purpose of community for us. We're so excited. Today, officially, the book tour launch is today. The book comes out tomorrow. And starting tonight, we're doing a 10-city book tour where we're actually meeting our audience and going across the country to actually really experience what does a night out with the Skimm look like, to have moderated conversation and talk through the book.
And I know for the book tour, you guys also have a ton of exciting moderators and guests.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I sure can. You want to do it?
Sure. So tonight we're kicking off with Ashley Graham, and you can see this full lineup at theskimm.com/book. You can get tickets, and we're so excited. It's so many amazing women. We have Whitney Port in LA. We've got Sarah Michelle Gellar in San Francisco. We've got Carla Hall. We've got the women behind the Home Edit, which if you haven't checked out their Instagram,
Go do it right now.
it's like a rabbit hole.
You'll go down a deep rabbit hole. Sarah
Yeah.
Blakely in Atlanta. We're so excited.
That's awesome. And also social media, because you just mentioned Instagram. You guys use it so well. What has the evolution of that been like with your company? Because, Instagram was nothing like it is today in 2012.
It's funny. We talk about, we all go through Instagram rabbit holes, right? You get just kind of lost in it and you're like, where did the last hour of my life just go? And as a company, we always talk about being time well spent. So how we approach social media, specifically Instagram, we think, how can we be time well spent on something that is a time suck? And it's something that we all fall privy to. And so for us, it's how do we make it easier to live smarter while bringing our sense of humor, bringing our sensibility on the world indirectly to your feed. And so we've been very lucky to have a very loyal Instagram following since the beginning. We definitely see that, this is where our audience is. This is how we're engaging with them throughout the day. And they are very excited about the book, I can tell you.
I love that. And also with community, there's always, the day ones, those people that have been there throughout the whole process. So now 7 years from where you started, what's your strategy in terms of, still getting more people to come join the Skimm and hold on to those members that have been there for a long time?
It's definitely the hard thing about community. And I think that we are constantly learning. Sometimes we do it well, sometimes we don't. I think that our Skimm ambassadors, who are, our biggest cheerleaders, are also our first critics. And that is an amazing line of communication to have. It makes our job easier at times and then much harder at times, because you never want to disappoint those people that have been with you from day one. And it's hard as you're growing as a company. I think that the biggest thing we learned is you can never be complacent with community. You've always got to be thinking about, what do they want? How can we give that to them, and how can we scale this? And I think sometimes we've done it well, sometimes we haven't. We're really excited about this tour because we get to go meet them across the country where they are. And that's something that we are so excited to have these conversations in person and ask them what they want to see, ask them what their experiences are like, because you're not going to be able to build for the next phase of community unless you have that face-to-face communication.
Definitely. And you'll learn more about this, obviously, when you're seeing people. But what has been the coolest part of seeing this community grow? Because I can imagine, even when you think of who the Skimm woman is, these girls have already become more knowledgeable. Like, I remember reading the first newsletters and, feeling like, wow, I have a lot to learn. And there still is so much more to learn. But people who have been reading this for years have more of a basis of that knowledge.
I think we probably both have the same answer, which is single-handedly our work with elections. So we built this platform called No Excuses, and we're nonpartisan, and I think obviously now more than ever that's so important. In 2016, we got over 100,000 people registered to vote, and in 2018, the midterm, we got over 200,000 people to show up and vote. So when we think about what does an engaged community look like, there's no better proof than that, and we're so proud of that.
That's really, really incredible.
Thank you.
And obviously, we're talking about women, so I need to talk a bit about that. I saw something where in the past, when you first were starting, you said that somebody had mentioned women wasn't much of a target audience, and they were saying it wasn't big enough. Now, obviously, you've proven them wrong. But as two women CEOs, what have been your biggest struggles?
Everything. But I think that is, I want to qualify that answer a little bit because I think that it is hard to start a company, like, period, hard stop, right? Like anyone that is trying to do something entrepreneurial, that is doing something on their own, it is an uphill battle. I think also starting something when you have no business knowledge, when you have no engineering knowledge is really tough. Add on that we were 25 years old. So I will say that, having all of those things, even if you parse out that we're women, are tough for anyone that's coming in. Then add on the fact that we are two women and women aren't being funded at the same rates as men. And it is, statistically an uphill battle. And I think we've certainly seen that. And that's why it's so important for us to have a network of amazing advisors that have helped us along the way, and to the extent that we can, give back. And that means making time for new entrepreneurs, making time to hear ideas, making time to connect them. And we wish we had more time to do that. I think that's actually been something that's been tough for us, which is we want to be able to have those conversations all the time. And one thing we had to learn was we have to be successful first ourselves to be able to then transfer that knowledge on.
Definitely. I mean, when you're talking about having time, I'm like, okay, you have a newsletter, you have a podcast, you have a book, not to mention that the podcast only launched 3 months ago, and now you're coming out with a book. How are you keeping up with all of this growth?
Our team. We couldn't be here talking to you right now if we didn't have just the best team in the world, not too far from here making this all happen. And I think that's been, I think by far the hardest and most rewarding thing for us is becoming managers for the first time, building a team, scaling a team. And, we always say every day our job is to fire ourselves, and we fire ourselves every day from things that allow us to then take on the next initiative. So we fired ourselves from a lot of things to be able to be here today.
And for you two in particular, what do you think makes it work for you two as a team?
I think the fact that we are a team and describing ourselves that way, we started this with the same idea of what success looked like. And I think that's really, really important. I think that over the years, we've become family. Our families have become family, and we are genuinely friends. I don't think you have to be, but I think that it wouldn't be as fun or something that we would look forward to the next 7 years and beyond if we didn't have that relationship. It's really the foundation for the company. If we didn't trust each other, that isn't a good example to set when we're hiring people, when we're asking them to trust each other, when we're asking them to assume the best intentions. That's actually one of our values, is to make sure when you're working with people, let's all start from the foundation that you have each other's trust and that people are communicating with the best of intentions. And that is how we work every single day.
That's awesome. Like we said, this book has so much in it. For both of you, what do you think is the most interesting or fun thing that you learned from writing this?
I don't want to pick favorites, but I will say, for me, the Skim Money section, I think is my favorite. I guess I did pick a favorite. But I think it is. And a part of it is because that was always the area for me that I always felt insecure in. I felt, every time I took a new job before the Skim, you fill out the form and you're like, I'm Googling 1 or 0 for the tax forms. When you actually figure out, do you get a financial advisor, what to ask the financial advisor, so that you are showing that you did your homework and know what you're talking about and don't get taken advantage of. And I think all of that is the foundation to then go into understanding your health insurance plan. So for me, being able to not only build up that confidence myself and then share that with others has been definitely the most rewarding.
For me, I really appreciate the time-saving things that we put in the book. And one big example of that is I spend so much time packing. I am horrible at
Not
it.
lying.
Especially
I'm the same.
yeah. And when I think about all of that time that is wasted, it drives me crazy. Especially we just packed for 3 weeks on the road. That is insane. And so we break down some really helpful tips when it comes to packing, both how to correctly pack a suitcase to maximize the space, military roll method. Also, if you are packing for a week, we have this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 handy guide, which we use, and it breaks it out down. You don't actually need to pack that much. And if you start with 5 pairs of underwear, 4 tops, 3 bottoms, 2 pairs of shoes, that's it, 2 pairs of shoes, and 1 hat, like protect yourself from the sun, you're good.
I feel like you just hit 2 of my biggest pain points right there. Like, I'm not kidding at all. It's like, personal finances when you're young and just adjusting to real life, and packing is, that's a very personal issue for me. So totally get it. It's like
You're
the
not
encyclopedia
alone.
for millennials. Seriously. It's so awesome. So we are going to head over to audience Q&A. We have one question on Twitter. Hi guys, what life skill do you pride yourself at being the best at?
That's a great question.
I think asking for help.
Yeah, I think we both can say
So
that.
we talk a lot in the book about the importance of networking, and it is a skill that I think some people are naturally good at. It's also a skill that can be learned and practiced. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm not good at networking. But just like anything else, it's something that you can hone and practice. And so we put in a lot of tips about how to break it down. What does the best cold outreach email look like? How do you follow up with people? And how do you track that over time?
I was going to say that.
I stole it,
Yeah,
sorry.
you stole it. Next
Come up with
question.
another one.
Well, I love that in that section of the book, particularly, like you just said, there are so many different ways of networking, and you include all of those because I think a lot of people just give a pretty general answer to those things.
And I think our feeling on that is, listen, very few people enjoy networking. And I know a lot of people that are like, it's not for me, that's like your thing. That's really not an option. No matter what career you've chosen and what path you want to go down, you have to be able to market yourself, to fight for yourself, and to network for yourself. And I think, especially for our generation in particular that graduated in a time where we saw industries change and a lot of things get consolidated and traditional career paths no longer exist in the same way anymore, you have to be able to connect the dots on your own. You have to be able to network on your own. And we know it's not as easy for everyone. And I would say, for some people feel more confident than others, and that's okay. But we feel that we gave some really great tips on how to tackle it.
Yeah, you're definitely making it easier, that's for sure. And then we have one audience question.
Hey, we actually have a question from our site, buildseries.com. A lot of people get their news from the Skim. What are some of the places you get your news from?
So many. I think every day it's a mix of different sources. So, we look at the Wall Street Journal, we look at the Times, we look at CNN, we look at NBC News, Fox News. We like to read across a whole bunch of sites and sources so then we can digest it and take a step back and think about the overall both opinions that are being put out there and the actual facts.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. This was amazing. I encourage everybody to go get your own copy of How to Skim Your Life and get tickets to the Night Out book tour at theskim.com/book.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.